and welcome to another episode of Disney Characters You May Not Know, episode 27, Monsieur Dark, or Monsieur d'Arc. Trust me, I'm going to do this terribly, so just stick with me, please. Monsieur Dark is the tertiary antagonist in the 1991 animated film Beauty and the Beast. Bet you didn't know that. Although he does not have much screen time compared to the film's other major villain, that being Gaston, enough of Monsieur Dark is seen for people to judge him as a callous, self-centered man who will do anything for money. However, it is implied that he may be far more motivated by sadism than money, to the point that he even notes that Gaston's plan to blackmail Belle into marrying him is despicable, only to claim immediately afterwards with an evil laugh that he actually loves it, clutching a gold coin tightly in his fist. Also, when he arrives with his men and the lynch mob to take her father away to his establishment, Les Maisons de Lunes, he promises Belle with a wicked smile that he will take good care of Maurice, that being Belle's father, further implying that the patients there are subjected to forms of abuse, and Dark himself, d'Arc himself, takes great pleasure in watching it. Despite being only a minor villain, and even then a forgettable villain by most people, it is rather interesting to note that Dark's personality and that Tony Jay voices him. You know, Tony Jay, who also voices Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah, weird. Coincidentally, Tony Jay also portrayed one of the antagonists in a live-action TV series, Beauty and the Beast, made before Disney's movie even came out, so it's a little fun fact. When Belle turns down Gaston's marriage proposal, Gaston becomes angry, but when Belle's father, Maurice, comes into the tavern telling everyone that Belle's been locked up in a dungeon by the Beast, everyone starts laughing, thinking that Maurice is crazy. Gaston comes up with a plan to make Belle his wife. Later that night, after everyone goes home, Gaston and LeFou summon Monsieur Dark, who also runs the local madhouse, Les Maisons de Lunes, which translates roughly to Asylum for Loons. And Gaston pays him to listen to his plan upon learning he did not usually leave the asylum at night. He then tells him that Maurice had earlier ranted about a beast in a castle holding Belle in a dungeon and mentioned that Belle needed persuasion. Dark was uncertain of what Gaston was getting at, citing that Maurice, though eccentric, was harmless, with Gaston and LeFou clarifying that he means Belle would even resort to marrying Gaston if it meant preventing Maurice from being locked up in a madhouse, which is blackmail. After fully understanding what Gaston was trying to convey, he notes with a feigned disgust that the plot was despicable, only to chuckle and declare he loves the idea afterwards. However, when they do go to Belle's cottage, neither Belle nor Maurice are there. Gaston has LeFou stay on guard until Belle and Maurice return. When Belle and Maurice do come home, LeFou rushes to get Gaston, Dark and their lynch mob, all of them. Dark himself appears at Belle's doorstep, formally says that he's come to collect Maurice, before snidely promising that he will take good care of him, showing her the asylum's carriage. Dark has his men carry Maurice into the carriage despite Belle's protest. Gaston promises to have Maurice released if Belle will marry him, but Belle turns down Gaston's proposal and manages to prove that her father is sane by showing the crowd the beast by using the magic mirror that later had loaned to her. Dark sped away in his carriage. He is not seen after this, and since he was not among the main riders to attack Beast's castle, it is likely that him and his men simply went back to Les Maisons, and knowing that he had no case against Maurice, whose sanity has effectively been proven. Pretty much. Yeah, that's his whole kind of plot line in Beauty and the Beast, the Disney one. In Disney on Ice version of Beauty and the Beast, Monsieur Dark enters the tavern and the story earlier than in the film, coming in just as Maurice is telling Gaston and the villagers about his encounter with the Beast. He is bribed by Gaston into locking Maurice up in an asylum wagon prior to catching him off later to the Maisons de Lunes if Belle refuses to marry Gaston, but disappears after that. In the stage musical version, Dark scene with Gaston and LeFou in the tavern is turned into a musical trio, Maison de Lunes. He also joins Gaston and the villagers in their attack on the castle, mainly out of greed, as it indicated by his gleeful reaction to Gaston's line, "Take whatever booty you can find." Of course, he would love that. During the battle, he is seen getting a well-deserved trouncing by some of the objects. In its touring production version, the trio of musicians led Monsieur de Lunes was replaced by spoken dialogue, in which Dark, who is depicted as more of a humorous character, pretends to mistake Gaston and LeFou as potential patients when he meets them, giving a cuttingly accurate analysis of them both. Now, on to the live-action movie. I'm not going to go into it because, like I've said a couple times before, the live-action Beauty and the Beast movie is pretty much a copy of the animated one's plot. But I would like to reference how he does appear in this, and he actually makes a much smaller appearance. You might not even know it's him, but he is the guy at the very end who tries to lock Maurice and Belle up. He is played by Adrian Schiller, so that's something, and that's about it. So, there's several other things I could go into, but I'm just gonna zip into the trivia. His last name actually means "of arches" in French, which might be a reference to his eyebrows and angular features. It is also play on the English word dark, since, Monsieur Dark is looking kind of sadistic. So here's a really big fact. In the initial draft for the original film, under Linda Wolverton's, sorry if I got your name wrong, treatment of the story, Monsieur Dark had a comparatively minor and far less villainous role in the story, where Gaston and LeFou personally went over to Monsieur de Lunes insane asylum and off-screen requested that he collect Maurice through legitimate channels, although he is still implied to be in on a deal with Gaston, winking at him when he's stating that he'll deal with Belle. In addition, when Belle exposes the Beast to prove Maurice's claims, Monsieur Dark promptly apologized to Maurice for the misunderstanding in horror at the Beast's appearance before fleeing with his other men back to the asylum. And there you go. That was Monsieur Dark, or Monsieur d'Arc, but I'm just going to call him Monsieur Dark because that's what they were going with. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this episode of Disney Characters You May Not Know, episode 27. Next episode is, let's just say, I'll keep this one a surprise. I think it's far funnier that way. Peace out, Disney Maniacs, and have a Disney day.